Introduction to the Book of Enoch. If you haven't already done so, I'd encourage you to review the previous video we put out titled, Why Study the Book of Enoch? It has extra information which will, again, set Enoch within proper context biblically and historically. There are actually 3 books that go by the name of Enoch, that were written in the name of Enoch. The Book of Enoch that we're looking at is usually referred to as First Enoch or Ethiopian Enoch. First Enoch is the oldest. It's sometimes called Ethiopian Enoch because it was written, while it was written in Aramaic, translated into Greek. The only complete version of Enoch that we have currently is in Ethiopian. And it's regarded as canonical. It is regarded as part of the Bible in the Ethiopian church and also in synagogues in Ethiopia, along with the Book of Jubilees. So First Enoch, which I'll just refer to as Enoch for our purposes, is the most influential one, the most important one. It's the one that the Bible quotes, and it's the one that once you get to know Enoch, you'll see that phrases from Enoch are scattered throughout the New Testament. It's really quite remarkable. Enoch consists of 107 chapters. Most of these have to do with dreams, visions, prophetic denunciations of evil, and some historical overviews of things that have happened or that were going to happen. Now, like the book of Daniel and Revelation, Enoch is what's called an apocalyptic composition. Apocalyptic works have some distinctives that are usually seen. Not all of them. You have Daniel, Revelation, and Enoch. In First Enoch, you have the hand of God operating in very troubled situations, dreams, visions, angelic revelations, angelic messages, angelic visitations, and God's judgment upon the wicked. This is all very common in apocalyptic literature. It also includes very sometimes puzzling visions or figures that appear in the story. For example, in First Enoch, there's a section called the Animal Apocalypse, which consists of a vision where there's all sorts of different animals coming into view, and you have to figure out, or you have to understand, why is God using these animals to tell a story? It's actually quite interesting. We're not going to deal with that anytime soon. We're going to be focusing on the first 37 chapters of First Enoch, usually referred to as the Book of Watchers. Now, Watchers is a name that we see first in the book of Daniel. There are special angels referred to as Watchers. And these Watchers in Daniel have functions. They deliver judgments. They have other functions. In the book of Enoch, the Watchers are, again, very special angels that got together, took a council together, and decided to rebel, to go to earth and carry on activities that were forbidden by God. And the Book of Watchers recounts the activities of the Watchers, how they defected, what their activities were, what they said and did, and their judgment. This is very, very important, because one of the reasons why we study this, and one of the main reasons that Nancy and I decided to get into this, was that the Book of Watchers, in addition to dealing with the angels, the angelic watchers, also describes the origins of the demonic. We'll get into that next in a future video. Suffice it to say that the origin of the demonic is nowhere described in the Hebrew scriptures in the Old Testament. They're barely referred to, but the Book of Watchers actually describes where they came from and how. This makes it of great interest for people who are studying spiritual warfare, deliverance, and related fields. Never mind just basic theology. So Enoch, one of the reasons that Enoch is important is that the New Testament writers were very, very familiar with it. Jewish writers, Christian writers. This was a very, very well-known and highly influential book. It was considered to be inspired. It was considered to be scripture by many people, Christian and Jew, in the era in which it was most popular, roughly 100 BC to 100 AD, 200 AD. Numbers of people in the early church, including some very influential leaders, regarded it as being scripture. So, Enoch is a very important and influential book for various reasons. When I'm reading Enoch, I'm often struck by how many phrases within Enoch are echoed in the New Testament. I've been reading the New Testament for 40 years. All of the phrases that I'm used to from reading the New Testament over and over and over, I'm reading Enoch and those phrases are just like coming off the page. It's really quite remarkable. This book was really thoroughly known and widely accepted. In addition, it was quoted by the New Testament writer who wrote the book of Jude. There's many references and echoes of it in other places, but it is explicitly quoted in the book of Jude, and we will be getting into that in a future video. One of the things that you also see here is that the Book of Watchers will also deal with the afterlife. What happens to people, righteous and wicked, after they die? Enoch was one of the first Jewish writings to explicitly lay out the fate of the righteous and the wicked and say, look, here's what I'm showing you. This is in a vision that Enoch saw. He said, the righteous, they're going here. The wicked, they're going over here. And they're not going to the same place. And they have a very different fate. This is part of what's going on in Enoch, which is extremely influential. Because in the canonical Hebrew scriptures, there is no comparable description of the fate of the wicked. Books like Enoch, and especially Enoch, can be seen and should be seen as being highly influential upon the worldview and the thought life, the thinking and the theology of the writers of the New Testament. This is not just some, I've read about all these, hidden books, lost books, all these kind of books that were going on. Yes, there are a lot of them, and most of them are of very little interest to serious students of the Bible. Enoch is probably the most important document written between the end of the Old Testament and the beginning of the New Testament, because it has echoes all the way through the New Testament. So we are going to be studying the first 37 chapters first, the Book of Watchers, within the Book of Enoch. We will probably take up some other sections of Enoch in the future. But since the Book of Watchers starts first, it's at the beginning of the book, and it deals with things like the flood. It deals with the origins of the demonic. It deals with the afterlife. Many, many issues that are of great interest to people who are seriously studying Scripture and studying theological issues related to the afterlife, the demonic, and spiritual warfare. There's a great deal to be learned, and so we hope that you will journey with us as we look into the book of Enoch, First Enoch. God bless you.